for Peaslee Neighborhood Center. Folks know Peaslee in this room at all? For those of you who don't know Peaslee, Peaslee was a public school in over the Rhine back when there were about 8 of those in the community. The school building, there was an old Peaslee school building who was John Peaslee, who started Arbor Day and superintendent of schools, named after him, that was right behind our old building that was demolished. And they built the smaller building where Peaslee Neighborhood Center is now in 1961. And it was one of many kind of neighborhood community anchors as schools are in the communities. And in the early 80s, it was slated for closure by Cincinnati Public Schools, despite being the top academically performing school in the neighborhood. The community, and it was ranked 17th academically out of 75 schools in the district. So CPS's message to our families, who were median income of our families at the time was $6,000 a year for our family. The children who attended our school were Appalachian and African American children. They were told that they could go to the next closest school that was ranked 75th out of 75 schools in the district. They found that unacceptable. What the moms did, so folks got organized, mostly single moms in the group. They got organized and they tried to convince the school board of the value of that resource and that anchor in the community. Showed up at school board meetings, right? Got people organized, including teachers in the neighborhood. When they saw the writing on the wall that the school was probably going to be closed, they bravely came forward and told their stories and filed a lawsuit in federal court for an injunction to stop the closure of the school based on class discrimination. Their legal routes, your legal routes are longer if you have money and shorter if you don't. They didn't win the legal challenge, so the school was closed. But they didn't say that's not fair and we're going to give up. They went to the school board and said, you can't run it as a public school anymore. Let us do it because we don't want a vacant building and to lose an educational resource. The school board said no. So they went back and they raised $15,000 and put it back on the table and said, okay, now let us buy it. The school board's counter proposal was, they appraised the building, they doubled the price, and they said if you can raise $240,000 in 1 calendar year, we'll give you the school building as long as you don't come back to us to ask for any money to do anything. Again, they could have gotten mad, and instead they just got to work. And in December of 1984, our moms and many community members stood on the steps of the building and got the keys, handed over $209,000. They didn't have all their money, and one of the moms said, wait a minute, that was their asking price. We should go back to the median toe and have them lower the price to what we raised. Other than being biased about loving Peaslee, why do I start with this? I start with this because Peaslee's history is grounded in local people getting involved in bringing alternative narratives and resources to folks who have struggled for whatever reason to get creative enough to do what's needed for the community. So the folks who did that work with lots of other community allies, they did not do it alone, right? Like, they came and they said there's another way, and we're going to do that other way. And economically, like, you can barely eat. Should you be able to do this huge thing? And for however many years in the future. But they did that, and they did that the local way, and they got civically engaged, and the story is way longer with a lot more bumps, both for getting the building and then maintaining it over time, which they knew would be the really hard thing. I say we, and I was like a kid, I wasn't there. And so I think things that both Josh and Prince have touched on is this idea of we can get overwhelmed by all this stuff. And the real work, everyone's always, what the real work? Is it housing? Is it education? I've done both, and I feel like it's both, right? But how do you rebuild a civic infrastructure? How do you build a civic infrastructure where every person has a role and every person is not content to let the processes that exist stand and say, well, you know, there's some benefit to what happens there, so who am I to say that there's any other way? Because we know that the ways that are happening now and the structures that are happening now, and that whether it's folks within our government, folks within our business community, and folks within our social service or nonprofit community are comfortable with using and know how to use it, it is not enough. It is not enough. It is not working. It is broken. And the places where there's energy, the places where good things do happen and there are impacts, it's long, it's slow, but it's people on the ground saying, I can do a thing, you know, and I can do a thing not by myself, but with other people. And Peaslee deeply believes that stuff because we just have lived it and we know it's the truth, right? It doesn't mean, you know, that that's how everything goes. We know that it's not. And one thing, I agree with what other folks have said here, but that I wanted to talk about a little bit because it's something that Peaslee has gotten more deeply involved in the last, you know, handful of years, is the idea of how do we develop our communities? How do we develop our cities? It cannot be done alone by the market. The market says, all the folks that we've been talking about today, they're not on the edge of the market. They're not like on the edge of this end. They're over here, right? So the processes that our city puts in place to make Plan Cincinnati a reality, right? Livable communities. I'm not just talking about for only low-income people, I'm talking for everybody, right? Viable, vibrant public spaces, all of those things. They cannot be realized if the only tool we use, right, is a tool that doesn't even have an access point for all these other folks. How many folks can be at a table to where these decisions are being made at our city, even at our community council levels, if you don't even know what it's like to live on $14,000 a year? You don't even have like a sense of what that might look like. So then we get caught up of good people are trying to do some stuff, right? Well, lots of good people can try and do things, but you're going to end up doing it for what you know, right? And you have to broaden what you know. And so much of the model for how development has gone in the last, I don't know, my experience at least 25 years, but we've seen kind of like a real acceleration in the urban core like in the last 15, right? The city really relies, and our government really relies on, we don't have any money, we don't have any resources, we need these private-public partnerships. It's the only way we can do it. But what we haven't done is, as we start to build, we haven't taken into account what we give up when we do those, or any mechanisms to have us actually leverage, feel like we have something to leverage. The city has a lot. The city has land, they have taxes, they have tax abatements, and thus far we've been pretty much giving those away. We've been saying, come here and do whatever you want because we just need some stuff, right? Like we just need some tax base, okay? And when folks get moved out or displaced, I don't think, I mean, there's no consideration that is just, again, what, an unintended consequence? It's 100% intended. It's 100% intentional, right? We also, from a very practical level, even if you take away all of the moral implications of it and like human beings, we are moving people to another part of our city, like in substandard housing. Nobody believes, I shouldn't say that, I shouldn't say what nobody believes. I don't know how many folks in this room believe that folks that are getting displaced out of over the run in the urban core are going to other high quality housing in Hyde Park, Oakley, Indian Hill, right? Do we generally believe that that's what's happening, right? We have a sense because the census number is where people are going. We have a sense of where people are shifting. They're shifting to the new communities that are the problems. And what is the solution? We need to take this wonderful renaissance and bump it out to all of our 52 neighborhoods. So the 52 neighborhoods could get the same kind of wonderful thing that we've done here in our urban core. But it's a bad model. So it's going to be the same bad consequences and outcomes. And we can't do it unless we get creative. And there are really creative people. There are creative people across a political spectrum. There are creative people across an economic spectrum who are either not at the table because they're intended to not be at the table and there's not a pathway, or they don't think they have any power. So we said, oh, I don't really have any power in this. Like, if I can tell you how many rooms I've been in with city leaders who tell me they don't have any power to do anything about it, like, and they're the person making the decision. So we disempower ourselves, whether we're a local citizen or whether we're a director of a center. What can I do? Or if we're a person working in an office building downtown. And so how do we rebuild this? I feel like we do it by getting civically involved wherever you are and being really open to understanding that the way things are going do not work and we need a different way. Our role within Peaslee, in terms of how we've been doing some of this, most of this has risen up out of the experience of like the kids and the families we serve, right? So I guess we're going on 2 years now. Josh, keep up course. I'm trying to think. A couple of years. We got involved, I guess we're going on 2 years now in a campaign around these little sets of basketball courts. And what does that matter in the whole scheme of things? You know, people are like, oh, a basketball court here, recreation there. But across one of our partner organizations, which is Rothenberg Elementary, which is the last remaining public school that's not a magnet, right, in the community, has a huge space at Main and Schiller is the location across the street from the public school. It's 86,000 square feet of publicly owned land that is contiguous, like in the city center. Like, there's nothing bigger than that in Over the Rhine, with the exception of, I don't even know, yeah, Washington Park, right?
Which is not public.
Yeah, which is not, well, right, yeah, that's a whole other, yeah. So Rothenberg Elementary is on Main Street in East Clifton and north of Liberty. 475 children attend there. 98% of the children are below the poverty level. Most of them live like right in the close neighborhood. It's when you cross the street from Rothenberg, there are 2 sets of basketball courts, a little plaza, and then a community-based garden, and then behind it, a lot of other open space, right? Kind of like undeveloped open space. That land was originally acquired parcel by parcel by the Cincinnati Recreation Commission back when Model Cities money, federal Model Cities money was available in the 70s. And the goal was to do a big, recreational park there. So they not only got that land, but they went to different owners and paid money to acquire this land. And it was put forth, and the original land came from Woodward. If you guys got these older guys, Woodward and Hughes, Woodward and Hughes, who are two high schools are named after. Like, that was originally that land. They used the proceeds from agricultural work on that land to seed money for our public school system. That's the history of this. And then it was some of it was put in trust to the city of Cincinnati that it would be for educational and recreational resources. So if we fast forward to today, a proposal went out in our community. The Economic Development Department of the city of Cincinnati put together a preferred developer agreement with a developer called North Point in our city here, who's done a lot of the development in the Gateway Corridor and with Teresa BC and other groups, as well as all over the city, North Side, etc. To build 21 single-family homes with 2-car detached garages with a $550,000 price point, right? With phase 1 to demolish the basketball courts and the community garden and name it after the school across the street, Rothenberg Road. This was despite the Economic Development Department not owning the land. The Recreation Commission owns the land. So we spent the way this kind of came to us is we kind of learned that this land was going to get sold